So the first pasuk in this week's Torah portion starts off Vayehi b'yom hashmini, and it was on the eighth day. Hara Moshe la'aharon u'levanav. Moshe calls out, say, "Hey, Aaron and all of his children, come here, l'ziknei Yisrael, and all to the elders of the Jewish people." Vayomer el Aharon, and he tells Aharon, Kach lecha egel ben bakar lechatas va'ayol oila tamimim v'hakriv v'fnei Hashem. Take your sacrifices and bring it as an offering before Hashem. V'el b'nei Yisrael tedaber leimar, and to the Jewish people speak to them, saying, Kikchu seir izim lechatas v'egel v'keves ben shana tamima la'oila, and that they should take their special offerings. V'shor v'ayol shlam l'zbeach l'mei Hashem u'mincha b'lula b'Hashem ki hayoim Hashem nira aleichem, and everybody should get their offerings and all of their animals exactly set up and ready, because today is the day that we've all been waiting for. Ki hayoim, today Hashem nira aleichem, God will appear to you. This is what we've been building up towards ever since we received the Torah and we received the instructions of build me a sanctuary so I could dwell within them. This is the climactic moment that they've all been waiting for, that not just did they create everything, get the instructions to create everything, put it all together, do the installation rites for 7 days, everything in order, like a test run almost, but not really yet. But here is the day, on the eighth day, b'yom hashmini, that everything really starts clicking. All the gears are engaged, and it's operating, and Hashem is going to appear before them. Everybody took everything that Moshe had commanded, and they stood before God. This is the thing that Hashem has commanded. Do it, and the honor of Hashem will appear to you. Oh, v'ad ha'am v'yases ha'karban ha'am v'chiper ba'adam kasher tziva Hashem. And Moshe tells Aaron, go forth, do it as God has commanded. Vayikrav Aaron elam mizbeach vayishchat es egel chatas asher loi vayikru b'nei Aaron es adam ela vayitbol etzbol b'dam vayiten al karonis mizbeach v'sadam yitzak el yisayd mizbeach. And so they actually do it. They take the animals, they do the offering exactly as prescribed, and all of these things exactly according to the letter of the law. And then we have, after all of the details, Vayavay Moshe Aaron el Mayeh Vayetze V'yivarchu es ha'am Vayar kavod Hashem el kol ha'am. And then Moshe and Aaron went out to the tent of meeting, and they came out and they blessed the people, and the honor of Hashem, the kavod Hashem, appeared before all of the Jewish people. So this, the Yom HaShmini, is the culmination of what all of the instructions of how to build the Mishkan, and then we have all the details of how they actually did it, and then the installation rites, and then there are details that we started the book of Leviticus, the book of Vayikra with, and now 3 parshas in, we actually get that grand moment of the Jewish people experiencing something that they had never experienced before, such a profound closeness and revelation of Hashem here and present in this world. You know, there are some times where we want to get a divine revelation, but it's kind of either you have to leave this world and kind of go into a dreamlike state where you can perceive the divine, or you're in the material world and then you're seeing things through a veil and through a parable and through an interpretation. But here, b'yom hashmini, you have kind of the best of both worlds. They're living, breathing, aware, with their eyes open in this physical world, and yet they're seeing the kavod Hashem, the honor of Hashem coming down and being very much present. So what is the Shemini, the 8th day, all about? This is the 8th day of the installation. So if it's the 8th day, then it's showing on the one hand that it's connected to the 7. And it's not just its number in and of itself, the first day of the actual operation, the opening day. They could call it, something else that would refer to it as day number 1. On one hand, it's called the day 8, which is connected to the days that precede it. On the other hand, in Judaism, the number 7, the Kli Yakar explains, is something that has to do with nature. All of this world is connected with the number 7. It's part of the natural order, and it's part of the way that Hashem works within nature. That's why you have 7 days of the week. Shabbos, there's nothing wrong or limited, about Shabbos. Shabbos is 7. It's the epitome, not just of the world in a concealment type of way, but the world in a fully complete divine expression type of way. And yet you have the number 8, which refers to the divine light as it's completely above and beyond the whole, what's called Seder Hishtalshelus, the chain of descent of how the light emanates into this world. Because a lot of the Kabbalistic teachings talk about how to get from, or how it is that you can have an infinite divine light, and then you look around the world and you see multiplicity and boundaries and limitations. And so a lot of the story or the process and talking about the different spiritual worlds and that kind of stuff is referred to as Seder Hishtalshelus, the order of the chain descent of the light and the different diminutions that it goes throughout the whole spiritual cosmos. And so 7 is that light as it's present within this world, and 8 is the infinity beyond Seder Hishtalshelus, beyond this whole order of descent of the divine light into the world. So that's kind of the duality that we're seeing within the word Bayoim Hashemini. In this week's Torah portion, it starts off on the 8th day. Then on the one hand, it's referring to 8 as infinity beyond. On the other hand, it's saying that it's connected to and integrated within the 7 that precede it. So let's learn a Sikha of the Rebbe together where he addresses this concept of 8 being both the infinity beyond and being present in this world, and how to have those two seemingly opposite things not only coexist, but really be complementary to each other. Und das ist euch der Bier, was Kinor soll Yemais HaMashiach wird sein von Shmeine Nimim. There is a concept that the harp that Mashiach will play will have 8 strands, which correlate to 8 notes, which if you're a music major, there's no such thing as an 8th note. As soon as you get past 7 notes, it goes into the first note of the next octave. But when Mashiach comes, there's going to be this 8th note revealed. Der Chiddush, was wird sein, Oiftam b'Yemais HaMashiach. The novelty of what's going to be when Mashiach comes is v'nigla kavod havaya v'ro'u kol basar, that the divine presence will be revealed, but we'll see it with our fleshy eyes, with our human experience.
Kol basar.
As trotzdem was kavod havaya is be'ein hecher von der Bria, even though the Kvod Hashem, the divine glory, is beyond human perception, you wouldn't say, "Oh, that was such a great thought that I can't hold it in my hands," because the hands are not really a vessel for holding thoughts, burst my brain. But here it's almost like saying you have the Kvod Hashem, the honor of Hashem, that's this infinite divine light, and we're going to see it with our physical eyes. But physical eyes aren't really the vessel to be able to see a spiritual reality, a spiritual perception. Nevertheless, when Mashiach comes, you'll have this paradox happening, that we will be able to see it physically in perceived through human sight. To the extent that it's going to be what is clear and obvious and like the normal makeup of this world. Das heißt, als das, was der Basar Agashmi wird sein Kvod Havaya, wird sein mit der Techunas und Teva von sein, Gashmi ist dicke Metzias. The perception of the Kvod Hashem, the honor of Hashem, the divine spiritual infinity beyond, with our physical lights, with our physical eyes, will reflect the natural tendency of our bodies at that time. This will represent the true appreciation of godliness as the simple, natural fact of our existence. B'shaster basar zet kvod havaya, nor mitzad dem was der kvod havaya is bli gvul, und der Fahr kann aufkommen, euch lamata bis zu gesehen, während euch durch Basar Agashmi, das nimmt sich aber nicht mitzad der Tchunei shel Basar Gufa. Demol is Gillikos in Welt, afilu, wenn das kommt, in einer Ehe Muchshis, in ein Eufen von Chiddush. Es ist ein Euftu und ein Safo in Eulam. Wie bald als das, was der Basar Zet Kvod Havaya, ist es nicht misad sein Teva. So it's possible that the physical flesh sees the divine revelation because the divine revelation is so infinite that it can be manifest anywhere. But it's going to be like an unnatural, miraculous style perception. Der Emeser Pirush in Bederech Pshitos is, as das, was der Basar wird sein Kvod Havaya, wird es sein mit seinen Techunas und Teva von dem Basar Gufa. It's like the eyes are going to be able to see godliness, but without it being a miracle. Like it is an expression of the eye's own natural tendency. In them selbe Eufen wie in Nane Basar sind von Agash, in the same way physical eyes can right now see physical things, we can see each other. When Mashiach comes, godliness will be so revealed and so apparent that we'll be able to see it with that same type of natural function and natural tendency of our very physical existence. And so this is the connection between the times of Mashiach and the number 8. The revelation of this divine spiritual light, the Kvod Havaya, which will occur when Mashiach comes, will express two extremes that coexist within the number 8 itself. That on the one hand, the glory of Hashem is above and indeed completely removed from creation as a whole, which is all categorized in the number 7. On the other hand, Hashem's glory will be revealed in a manner that will so permeate the natural order that the perception of godliness in the physical world will result from the nature of the world itself. The 8th will emerge from the 7, just like we said. You have this kind of paradox within the number 8 as well. Is it a continuation of 7, or is it an entity in and of itself? And you have both of those things coexisting
at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time. That it's not just an infinity beyond the 7, that it takes a removed approach, even though this is talking about a divine revelation that is so above and beyond and so removed. Nevertheless, it's going to stem from and be a continuation from the natural world, from the 7. In other words, you can kind of fathom a divine revelation that's a sort of a miraculous type revelation that we're perceiving, but the ultimate integration, or for this infinity to permeate the world, means that it'll be natural way that we see all of existence as, you know, this is the divine reality.
Perception. What's the Yiddish word for perception?
Like Zen.
Like Zen.
Yeah, Zen.
Zen. Zayden.
So we have a little bit of a problem, though. What does the word olam mean? Do you know what the word olam or world is connected to? It's connected to the word olam melashon helem. Helem means concealment. That's actually what God created. When he created the world is a space where godliness is concealed.
Is that related to Seder Hishtashlos?
Yeah, that's the purpose of Seder Hishtashlos, and what it means to create a world. Olam melashon helem. It shares the root word with concealment. So how is it possible? We said the name of something sort of represents its essential character, but how is it possible that the very physical nature of the world will be able to see godliness when that goes against the grain of what the very word of world, aka helem, olam melashon helem, concealment means? It seems like the world is, by definition, a concealment of that that perception, and it would almost be like a miraculous, nature-breaking miracle that would enable such a perception.
And in order for this world to exist, there has to be concealment.
Right, because without that concealment,
right,
you would have such an overwhelming level of divine consciousness that it wouldn't even exist as a separate entity. Which is the whole purpose of the concealment, is to get to that we have that that separate existence that we can invite Hashem into. So in order to answer this question, we got to open up the Tanya. The Tanya chapter 37 says, that the revelation of the infinite divine light in this physical world, the revelation that will be once Mashiach comes and you have the resurrection of the dead, is Kol Zman Meshech HaGolus is dependent on our avodah, on our deeds here in the time of exile. So it's not just dependent on our actions; it's dependent on our actions during the time of exile. What do you mean throughout the duration of exile? Why is that emphasized, Dafka? Das, was durch Maseinu tut man auf der Gili Orein Seif Baruch Hu Elam Azagashmi, is doch das Mitzad der Meilach und Mitzvahs. The fact that our divine service through doing Torah and Mitzvahs reveals godliness and the infinite divine light into this world is because of how great the Torah and Mitzvahs are. The sagt dort Gufa be'asiyasa shal mitzvahs mamshicha adam Gili Orein Seif Baruch Hu Melamayla Lamatu V'Savash V'Gashmi Zoyel Mazeh. Like he writes there in Tanya itself, that it's through the actions of these divine wills of the mitzvot that we are connecting to Hashem and bringing godliness down into this world. So why does he add these words, Zman Meshech HaGolus, that it's through the duration of exile that is able to bring out this divine, infinite divine revelation? So one of the explanations that I says B'derech Efsher, which you know that this is the real novelty coming, because if he's saying possibly, that means that that although most of what the Rebbe speaks about is quoting from Mamorei Chazal and from our sages, when he says "b'derech efsher," you know this is the Rebbe's chiddush. You know, it's kind of like a keyword.
But we have possibility.
Okay, so if the Rebbe is "b'derech efsher," by us is a vada.
It's like the equal sign. It's like the equal sign, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So here's a possible explanation. Bichdei as der Gilui von Yemais HaMashiach Ches HaMesim soll sein, nirgush mitzad teva olam gufa, in order for the revelation of the times of Mashiach to not be earth-shattering, but to be felt within the very construct of this world, as is dafka, wenn der Amshocha lekush al yedei ha-mitzvahs, was die Amshocha kommt zu der Gilui lasidovai, is nit wie at zugegebener Zach in Welt, is specifically when the revelation of godliness that comes about through the mitzvahs is not like a added on, tacked on thing to the world. Das heißt, die mitzvahs tun euch nur in Welt soll zukommen an Oraleki, aber die Welt Gufa verbleibt, wie sie es gesehen, früher mit Zeit Erisavas Eilam Lashon Helem, nur als der Amshocha durch der Mitzvah soll sein, in Aza Eufen, als Macht über der Gashmias Eilam Azah. So it's not just that the divine revelation comes and it's like a earth-shattering experience that breaks down the confines of this world and creates this added, tacked-on reality. But rather, although godliness would be revealed in this world, it wouldn't reflect the world's natural state. It would be like something out of the ordinary. Instead, being that it's through our effort in this world and in exile, it fulfills the intent that godliness be drawn down in a way that transforms the very fabric of reality, the very nature of this world, making this world into a godly place itself, rather than it being something that's in conflict. You have like two ways that you can kind of resolve this conflict that the world is concealing or opposed to a certain degree to godliness. One of the ways is, well, godliness is bigger and stronger and greater, so it could come in and it could overpower this world. But then the sight, the real kol basar yachdav that we said we'll be able to all perceive godliness, would also be in a non-natural way. The second way is, rather than it kind of dominating, it makes shalom. It transforms this world in a very hands-on and peaceful way, where the world itself now reveals what its true nature is. That it's a divine garden, but it's not, that the whole helem, the whole concealment was there in order to bring out that revelation. So that's why it says that the revelations that come about when Mashiach comes is dependent on our actions throughout the duration of exile. Because the potential for mitzvahs to transform the nature itself is primarily expressed through mitzvahs that are done, not in the heyday and great divine revelation, but in a time of darkness and in a time of struggle. That's what creates this integration between the infinite divine light and the confines of this world in a far more transformative way, rather than it just being an overpowering type of way. So this world has a lot of challenges, a lot of concealments, a lot of times where we don't see godliness. But why did Hashem create it that way? Hashem could have created it however he wanted. God has created this world out of a loving kindness for us. So why create the world in such a way that there is such a concealment? Does God desire concealment?
It's a necessity, I guess, at the moment.
An interesting question.
So what's the whole purpose of creation? If you look at the first verse in the Torah, Bereshis, Rashi says, what does it mean, Bereshis? It means B'shvil HaTorah, B'shvil Yisrael, Sh'nikreshis, that the world is created for the sake of the Torah and for the sake of Israel. As Yidin durch Torah mitzvah sollen oifton gilur likosin Welt. The purpose of this world is that Jewish people, using the Torah and its mitzvahs, create a divine revelation or bring about a divine revelation into this world. They bring a revelation of godliness into the world. That explains why the revelation of godliness that the Jewish people draw down into the world is not an incremental element of the world's existence. Since this revelation of Hashem is the intent and the very purpose of the world itself, the inner dimension of the world itself demands, as it were, to have that purpose accomplished through the Torah and its mitzvahs. And so nothing can really ever stand in the way of a Jew's performance of the Torah and mitzvahs, because that's the very purpose and the design of this world was for our sake, for us to fulfill our calling and our mission in this world. But still, we have the very world being characterized as concealment. And so it seems contrary to the natural state of this world to reveal godliness within it. That's contrary to its name and definition. So to answer how you can make darkness shine, it explains in Chassidus that it's specifically during a time of darkness that Mesiras Nefesh, that full devotion and full commitment to serving Hashem, is revealed. Even more than times of great revelation, like the times of the Beis HaMikdash. Because concealment and hiddenness, which are kind of the same idea as exile, as galus, that's what actually brings out and reveals the power of Mesiras Nefesh. And so you could ask, sort of like a klutz kasha, how could it be that darkness creates revelation? It's like, how could it be that a horrific attack brought out a Jewish renewal, or Haman's evil decree brought out the commitment of the Jewish people to stand with Mesiras Nefesh for an entire year?
It elicited a response like on a more profound level.
It's
Something
so
beyond nature.
it's so counterintuitive that a concealment of the divine kindness of a divine revelation would bring out a revelation of
That is very counterintuitive.
the Jewish spirit, and yet we all know it to be true, right?
Right, it's totally counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
It has to be. It's beyond derech teva. It's beyond you could say it's emotional, that'd be one way of explaining it, but it's beyond that even. Even that was within the realm of nature, something beyond nature.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's kind of like there is all of your body follows the power of will within your soul, or that's manifest within the brain, but nothing expresses it better than the heel. It's like everything else, okay, it follows, of course, automatically whatever the will of the person is, the body follows, but it's sort of archetypically exemplified within the heel.
Ekev.
The Ekev, the Yaakov, the heel, the Ikvas of the Mashiach, that's our generation, the generation of darkness and concealment, where we don't have such a grand divine revelation, and yet we're able to march forward and elicit that full devotion to the divine will in a way that is, in certain respects, superior to those who had grand revelations and spiritual experiences left, right, and center. So a lot of times we talk about the desire that God has to have a dwelling place in the tachtonim, in the lower worlds. But to break that down a little bit further, that divine desire is that the dwelling place should be manifest within the lowest of the low, within the darkness and within the concealment. That's where the divine intent really is. And so, what is the sort of inner dimension of that darkness itself? Its purpose of the divine desire to have a dira b'tachtonim, have a dwelling place in the lowest of the low. And so that hiddenness and the concealment itself is, in essence, about bringing forth a much higher and loftier divine revelation that that is exemplified through that full devotion of what we call Mesiras Nefesh, of giving over our very lives for Hashem, that is called forth during times of struggle and times of oppression. So the nature of the world itself, even as it's characterized as its title, what is it called? Olam Lashon Helem, it's a concealment. Even before its purpose becomes manifest within it, and it reflects concealment, is its inner purpose is about drawing out the superior divine light that comes through that concealment and through the darkness. And so therefore, the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya that the revelation of godliness that we'll see when Mashiach comes is specifically through our efforts in the time of exile, because that's what creates this divine revelation in a way that it's interwoven into the very fabric of the world's existence. And so that's what he meant when he said V'riro kol basar, yeah, that the honor of Hashem will be revealed, and all flesh will see. What do I mean? All flesh will see that the world, according to the natural tendency of the world itself, the human nature and the physical flesh, it'll be so, the divine revelation will be so integrated into the world that it'll be the very nature of the world. So one of the mitzvahs that we speak about in this week's Torah portion is the mitzvah of keeping kosher. Sav and Shemini. Shemini mentions, this is the type of animals that you can eat, this is animals that you cannot eat. Under Parsha V'Zaysa Chaya, the passage that starts talking about the kosher animals and non-kosher animals says this is an animal that you can eat. Was es retzich wegen chayes und behemoths temeyes und wegen isser achilasam und temasam, das ist shayich und es achelik von Parsha Shmini Atzma. This is very much a part of the general title Shmini, this eighth, which is the synthesis of the infinity beyond and complete integration with this world. The zichuch von olam, the refinement of this world, lashon halam, the very concealment itself, was durch dem wird herausgebracht b'shleimus, sein kavana is zu lieb gilui alikus, das heißt bechinas or, was is muvdol in ganzem mehabria, der zichuch tut oif durch dem, was is da, die Metzius und Messias Makim verhellen Yoiser, Chayes und Behemoths Temeis, und von deswegen ist da der Lahavdil bein Atome und bein Atome, bein Achaya und Acheles und bein Achaya asher lo seichel. The very world gives room for the existence of non-kosher animals and things that are not pure, and yet you can make this distinction. These are good, these are okay animals to eat, and these are ones that are not. Was durch dem wird der Zichuch euch in dem Hellem was gibt an Ort zu Chais Behemoths to Meis. And then when we refine the world, which gives place to and credence to the very fact that there is these animals that need to be refined, leads to the refinement of the very concealment of godliness that brought about those animals' existence. Like the Midrash comments, Zois abehema loit nit mitzvahs liyisrael ela sarif lehemes abriyos vasiruf meint zichuch. Like the Midrash comments on this section, that this is animal you can eat, this animal you cannot eat, that what were the mitzvahs given for? In order to refine and purify the world, ourselves. L'tzarif bahem es abriyos, to bring about a tziruf, like a zichuch, a refining.
Sorry.
Yeah, l'tzarif bahem es
Abraham at Chabrios.
Und durch dem, was dem Helm spiegelt sich ab, sein Kavanah v'tachlis, the fact that the concealment itself reflects its ultimate purpose and intent, which is the revelation of Hashem, der Gilelikus, der Ratzon Atzmi von Yidin, Avi Shevashmayim Gazer Alai, was wird durch dem Niskale, das tut auf dem Gilui von Shemini. And so by sorting through these animals, saying, okay, this is the one that Hashem says, I can't eat. There's no difference to me. I don't know, like, not that I'm naturally repulsed to non-kosher animals. It's just, this is what Hashem says. This is the ones that are okay. These are ones that are not okay. That brings out the Shemini, the revelation of godliness, which is entirely higher than the world, which is revealed in the seven. As vert Shemini neskalav nesachid in the Bria Gufa Kanal Barucha. So this makes 8, for the transcendent light is revealed and becomes one with creation itself as a continuation of 7. You have this infinity beyond that is integrated completely with the 7. And according to this, we can also understand what the Medrash says about the impure animals, that Moshe saw each one for what they are, that each one represents one of the 4 major kingdoms. Vies dart bevar bepratias der choshech un helem von yeder galus, like the Medrash explains, the darkness and the concealment brought about by each exile, which are connected to the different animals that each one of those exiles represent. Varum der Uftu un Gilui von Zeisachayel Havdil is der Indian was tut sich auf al yedei ha galuyos, because the new dimension that's brought about is through going through these exiles. Was der Amshacha von dem kommt erais begoli lo asidavei ke kinor shal shmeina nimen, which will be revealed when Mashiach comes with these 8-strand harp. Like, so this is the Medrash where Rabbi Pinchas says, all of the prophets, only 2 publicized it, Asaph and Moshe. Asaph said, the pig from the forest gnaws at it. Moshe said, and the pig, because it has a split hoof. And why is Edom, the Roman Empire compared to the pig? It says to you, just like a pig, when it lies, it displays its hooves and says, look, I'm pure. So the kingdom of Edom engages in self-aggrandizement and extorts and robs, while creating the impression that it's preparing a judicial platform. So it gives the impression that it outlaws certain behaviors and prosecutes certain crimes, while the state itself commits them. There was an incident involving a certain governor who would execute the thieves, the adulterers, and the sorcerers. He leaned over to the executioner and said, these 3 guys that you're executing,
I've done all.
I did all 3 in one
I
day.
did it all.
But he's the governor, so
I did it all, man. This is
the
nothing.
special laws for him.
These are minor leaguers.
But then at the end of the Medrash it says, why is the pig called Edom? That's the exile that we're in now. The Roman Empire just kind of morphed into the Western Empire as we know them. This is all part of Edom, Rome. Why is it called a chazer? is a very good thing, a good reason why it's called chazir. What does the word chazir mean? Because it returns the crown to its rightful owner. Because all the other exiles, they took the crown from the Jewish people and they passed it from one to another, and they never put it back on the rightful heir's head. But why is the final exile called the Chazer, the pig? Because it's going to return the crown to its rightful owner, like it says. And deliverers will ascend the Har Tzion, Mount Zion, Lishbaitas Har Esav, to judge the Mount of Esav, which is Edom, which is this final exile. And the sovereignty will be returned to Hashem. And so ultimately, this world and the exile itself will take the crown that was passed from one exile to another and return it back onto Israel's head and onto that sovereignty in our homeland. Israel is both a people and a place. And Edom is called a Chazir because it's the final exile that will eventually return that sovereignty back to the Jewish people. And when that happens, the world itself will not be subjugated to the sovereignty of Hashem like a foreign entity, but the peace in Eretz Yisrael, as being something that's synonymous with peace around the world, is something that will be fully fleshed out, fully integrated within all of the nations and within all of the world, that Hashem is king, and that everybody recognizes the power and integration that we have, and our vast responsibility right now to fuse these two elements together. Just like the paradox of the number 8 itself. On the one hand, it's a continuation of 7. On the other hand, it's the infinity beyond, that through Torah and mitzvah, specifically during this time when the whole world has gone mishugana, the whole world has gone crazy with their chants and the terrorist propaganda reaching into the mouths of
babies.
Of babies, right?
Babies, innocent college kids. Sorry, young people. Innocent kids who don't know any better. They don't know any better.
And then you have this terrorist propaganda that's being echoed by people who don't know their left foot from their right. Then you have this awesome responsibility that in this darkness we not only can rise above it and sort of reach into a space where, like, I'm going to go into seclusion and be around like-minded people and forget about the whole world, run away from the whole world, which there is that kind of inclination.
I'm going there.
You don't have to.
I'm not quite there yet.
Whatever. You don't have to battle and engage every stupid thing everybody says.
I'm kind of going.
But at the same time, in our process of staying strong and proud of our responsibility and recognizing the awesome responsibility and schus and merit that we have, we're able to bring about the other aspect of the 8, which is that not only is it a infinite divine revelation, but it's a full integration with the very fabric of reality. It's something that really transforms the entire world.
Quick question, or not really a quick question, just a question, Rabbi. Speaking of these very young kids who just cannot see in front of their face what is going on, how do we talk to them? How do we get them to see what's really happening, or are we going to be able to do that?
It's an interesting question, and it's also a new question because throughout all of history, we've faced in every generation a anti-Semitic genocidal threat, and we've never even had a voice to be able to dispel it. We've almost just kind of focused on trying to survive. There is the concept of a kol Yaakov v'yadayim de'esav, that our true power comes through our voice and through our articulation. That first of all, the most basic understanding of that verse is that our strength comes through the words of Torah and the words of Tefillah. Our connection to Hashem, we strengthen that is our primary tool of influencing the world. But kind of extrapolating from that, when we do have Torah ingrained within our head, and that ideology and the worldview that is really very positive and can see the good and godly within everything, we're able to articulate that to the world around us, each person using their unique skills of being able to relate and being able to articulate. But there has to at least be somebody willing to engage and listen. Otherwise, it's what's called avodas perach. In Egypt, they made us do backbreaking labor, which was like one of the examples is building cities on quicksand, where it was so demoralizing because as soon as you finished building the city, it just sunk in. And so if somebody's not listening and you're trying to explain something and you're trying to show facts and points and all of that, but they're just waiting for their turn to spew their stuff. But then you don't have a dialogue. You just have you have a shouting match.
To spew their anti-Semitic genocidal stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's
Yeah, stop committing genocide because we're going to genocide on you. It doesn't. You're not going to win arguing with them, but if you stand your ground and you're proud about who you are and act accordingly, even if your people hate you, they will respect you. Even if they want to destroy you, they'll still respect you in the long run, and they'll come around eventually, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, it is so ironic that they're using the word genocide to justify their desire to genocide.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, it's like, no, now it's justifiable to genocide the Jewish people because look, they're committing genocide.
They're committing so much genocide. That's why we're committing genocide on you.
That's why we want to kill them all.
These people we're advocating for, they're genocidal because you're genocidal. Don't you get it, man? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't add up. Again, these are really, we're not dealing with like intellectual geniuses. I mean, it's not that they're dumb. It's just they're so manipulated. They don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but a lot is trying to demonize the Jewish people. That's before Hitler was able to do what he did. He had to first go through a whole campaign of demonizing and othering, and then a whole society is willing to do that.
Hopefully we can avoid all of that this time. Hopefully.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it either. I'm definitely not sure about it. That's what worries me.
I think the world is getting primed for being okay with it.
Right? Everything's flipped. We're all like, we've all changed through all this experience, right? It's pushing us where we need to be, but it's painful too, huh? You know, it's not easy.
No.
Well, on the one hand, it's correct to take their threats seriously and to recognize the danger that it possesses. At the same time, we strengthen ourselves with emunah and bitachon, with faith in Hashem and trust in Hashem, especially through reading through the books of the prophets, and seeing the different prophecies of what is going to be. And so then you already have, the future script. We don't know exactly how it's going to play out. Nobody knows exactly, but once you have the script, so then we'll see it eventually come to fruition. But it's through the trust in Hashem that it will be good, and that we don't need to see, God forbid, any more death and suffering. All of the prophecies of doom have long been plenty accounted for over our long and arduous history. We're already ready to see the second half of the prophecies. Like Jeremiah prophesied in the times of the first Beis Hamikdash. He said, Koyamar Hashem, so says Hashem, Oid Yeshama b'makom hazeh, asher atem oimrim charafu. You will yet see in this place that you are describing as destroyed, desolate. There's no human beings here. There's nobody left. There's no animals. It's all gone. You'll yet see in this place kol sason v'kol simcha, kol chason v'kol kala, that you will hear the voice of rejoicing and the voice of gladness, the voice of the chassan and the voice of the kala, the bride and the groom. Calling at people, calling out to Hashem, give thanks to Hashem, for his love is everlasting and he's good. As they're bringing karbanos, and because I will restore the fortunes of the land like they were. Amar Hashem. So in the Yerushalayim, in the towns of Judah and in the streets of Yerushalayim, that there will be peace, there will be goodness and gladness and prosperity. We know that future is coming, and when we put our trust in Hashem, when we do, each and every one of us our best to awaken that Mesiras Nefesh, that full devotion that the darkness and exile brings out, it'll bring forth the fulfillment of these prophecies, that there will be joy and there will be gladness. And
if any of you haven't experienced it, when you go to like a really rocking Jewish wedding, they rock this one really hard. Like, I can say from experience, you come out of like, the first time, I guess you're married to your wife and you come out into the public, the people in my yeshiva, they were singing this song so strong. They brought Yehuda. They really, it's like it's funny how the Jewish people have, like, by fulfilling like these mitzvot, by making a family, or they rock it out. This is how we beat exile. One more brick in the wall, to build something. It's nice when people really, when people are really projecting, when you can really feel it. You have those moments, where the world is capable of so much and being better.
mm-hmm.
Like, it's harder for us, our ancestors, like I don't know about you, but my great grandparents, they were these European Jews. They didn't have money and they made money all of a sudden, but no matter how much they made, they never were truly satisfied. No matter what they built, they always knew that the world could be more. It was meant to be more. They were never completely satisfied. It sounds weird. It sounds very Baltic, very kind of weird and cold and European, Northern European, Russian. But their mentality was that the world is meant to be so much more, that we can never truly be happy. We can be happy, we can enjoy this weddings, enjoy our children, be grateful for everything, but always know that the world can always be much more. They just had it ingrained in them. I think we all do. It's deep down in all these teachings kind of reveal all that. That's what I think.
Yeah, I got that in me a little bit.
Right. And they call it Jewish guilt, like in modern, 20th century language. But that's really what it is. It means no matter what degree I get or how much money I make, the world is supposed to be a better place. It's supposed to be much more.